Have you ever tried writing a song a day? Well, my name's Crafty and I'm here to tell you about what I learned doing it recently. So before I get into this story, who is this video helpful for? It'll be helpful for new songwriters. Perhaps if you've been writing for a while but you've experienced writer's block, it'll be helpful for you. I also found that it's just a fun exercise to spark some creativity, but also it was actually really good in engaging with followers. Alright, so I'm filming this from South Australia where I live, and if you haven't seen this channel before, my name's Crafty. I'm a full-time musician, and recently South Australia was in a lockdown. We got told with 1 day's notice that we were going to go into a 6-day lockdown because of crazy coronavirus stuff. Now, there were some pros and cons to having an imposed lockdown. On one hand, I had some gigs cancel and some teaching stop for a bit, but then on the other hand, I was also able to use that time to some things that I ordinarily wouldn't have time for. Now, so what I was going to do is each day of lockdown, I was going to write a song and I was going to perform it live from my Facebook page, Crafty Music Man. Now, on the first day when I was trying to think of what to write, I thought to myself, well, why don't I just give myself a little bit of a criteria where on the first day I'm only allowed to use one chord. And then on the next day, on day 2, I use 2 chords, and on the third day, 3 chords, and so forth. So, without any further ado, here's a quick snippet of each of the songs.
It's only day 1, I'm already going mad, definitely going mad, it must be kinda sad. It's only day 1, I'm already going mad, definitely going mad, it must be kinda sad. It's only day 1. Ready to jam?
Alright, so I'll play something, can you groove along to it?
That sounds like a plan.
I'll see you at the end.
Alright.
There's no delay.
Yeah.
No, we'll be alright.
Alright.
Here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Hey, hey.
Woo! Such good chords, Ali. Alright, here's my personal lyrics. I don't know what day it is, even though it's only lockdown day 2.
It's the end of the lockdown, as far as we know. It's the end of the lockdown, thanks to the lies of a Woodville pizza guy. It's the end of the lockdown, as far as we know.
So you might have noticed that there's only 3 songs. Well, our 6-day lockdown just got changed into a 3-day. And so, hooray, we were able to get amongst our lives. But for me, I was thinking like, I would have actually liked to have tried to do a whole 6 songs. And maybe, who knows, if there was more, I would have just kept churning more out. But they're the 3. Now, if you wanted to hear the full songs, I'll leave a link below so that you can go check them out. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly talk about what I went through in order to create each song. Okay, lyrically, you could tell with all of the songs that basically I'm a bit of a fun-loving guy, and I was trying not to take the lockdown in a negative way. I was trying not to get beaten by it. So with a smile on my face, I just tried to just have as much fun with the situation as I could. Now, musically speaking, I only had 1 chord available with the first chord, a C chord. And so what's a way that you can just make 1 chord not boring? Well, I decided to use technology. So I had a loop box in my pedal rig where I was able to do a bunch of different things, all based around the C chord, and that made it for a less boring version of just C. Now, so that's all I'll say for now on just using a loop box with 1 chord, but if you'd like me to go into greater depths on exactly what I did, well then let me know in the comments below. I'll make another video. And if you would be interested in what my pedal board has on it, well then I've actually got a video. I'll leave a link to that video as well. Go check that out. So yeah, the second song, day 2, it had 2 people. My mate Jordan was playing along on drums from the video feed, and I also had my mate Ali suggest I use a C to an A flat major. And in the third song, I had 3 different people suggest 3 different chords: G, D major 7, and A major. Okay, so there you have it. Now you're up to speed. Now you understand exactly what I went through. Here's all of my takeaways that will be able to help you. Okay, so the first thing that really helped me was the fact that it was a forced creativity element where I had a criteria where I needed to churn out something. Now, I don't know if you've ever felt like this before, but if you've got all of the time in the world, it's really easy to just get really stuck into thinking, oh, it's just not good enough. But I had the deadline. People knew that I was going to be pumping out yet another song. And so I just had to do something. And so it's amazing having a deadline. And it reminds me of a quote from this lovely guy called Caleb O'Dowd. It's done is better than perfect. Now, as I mentioned, a bunch of people had known about my deadline, so that was a way for me to be accountable. That meant that I had to do it, or else I could have had people say some not nice things to me, like, "Where's the song, you idiot?"
Play, the audience is getting restless.
We want Chili Willy! We want Chili Willy!
Another thing I noticed is that once I'd given myself this deadline, well, I just didn't really worry about being able to get it done, whether the fact it was going to be any good or not. I just believed in myself, and then everything just fell into place after that. So I know that it's a bit of a cliche, like, oh, think positive and good stuff will happen. But hey, just for me, it's exactly what happened. I just believed in myself. I believed that I could do it, and everything just happened. It was awesome. Now, another bizarre thing happened by having this daily deadline is that I just focused only on just getting the material together and then putting it out there. I didn't worry too much, basically. I basically didn't worry if people were going to like it or not. And in fact, I think I thought to myself, well, probably there will be people that don't like it. But it didn't faze me, because let's think about it. Does every single person like exactly the same type of music? Is every person, do they like the same exact foods? Does every person in the world like the same movies? Does everybody like have the same shaped nose or the same color eyes? Like, we're all different and we're all allowed to like or dislike things. And I didn't get any hate for any of the songs. Feel free to leave some hate below if you hated the music, but you know what? It doesn't bother me, because you know what? I was just only focused on my deadline and the fact that I was going to get some new song ideas out of it.
So much to do, and so little time.
Now, another great thing that I got out of it was that using interaction, I was communicating with my followers, I was communicating with my friends, and a bunch of people came back to me with some ideas for chords, some ideas for lyrics, and it was a great kind of back and forth process.
Oh, what? You don't like that suggestion either?
It's very complicated.
So what was great about it is that I had other people to feed off of. It wasn't just only myself that was relied upon having ideas. And so I don't know if you've ever experienced that where you're just really stuck by yourself. It's just a really great thing to be able to reach out to others, and you never know, they may give you some gold ideas.
I love gold!
Now, I've mentioned it a bunch of times already, but the fact that I gave myself like a pattern or a process, and that it was just something that I had to stick to. Once I had that in place, well, all I had to do is just stick to it. Now, some people would say, oh, it's not that easy, but give yourself a deadline and then just stick to the deadline. Give it a go. Now, another thing that really helped me was using some music theory knowledge. Potentially, you might be watching going, oh, I don't really know any theory, and that's okay, but it was just a way to help me out. For instance, in the second song where I was using C and then A flat major, neither of those chords are within the same key, so I was able to actually use some music theory knowledge to help me out with the melody. Also with the looping, I was able to actually use some scales and arpeggios and things to be able to get more out of the chord C. Now, another thing that I took away from it is the benefits of using technology. So in the first one, I was able to use my loop box. And in the second one, I was able to get Jordan in via satellite playing drums. And it was an awesome thing to be able to do, because if this was years ago before the technology had upgraded to the point of being able to meet the demands that I had, well, then it just would have been less of a result. Now, the last of my takeaways was that I used variation and contrast. At least I tried to. From song to song, I used different tempos, I used different chords, I used kind of sort of different lyrical / melodic phrasing ideas. And that's a really important takeaway for me, because so if there was another 3-day lockdown and I've churned out 3 songs that sounded basically the same, well, it will just show me that I wouldn't have as much musical versatility. So with that in mind, it's a great tip that try a bunch of genres that you haven't tried before. Just expand, or just listening to a bunch of different stuff. It's always going to be a good use of time.
Every time we say goodbye, I die a little.
Okay, so there you have it. There is my takeaways, the things that I've learnt from my 3 days in lockdown. Now, from my story, is there anything else that you've noticed that could be a good takeaway? Let me know in the comments below. Now, Crafty Music Tips is on YouTube. You're watching it now, but it's also on a bunch of other social platforms, so you can go follow me there. Now, if that's not enough for you, well, I've got a free gift for you. It's called Actually, How Good Are You? And what it is, it's a free ebook download where I take you through all the steps of figuring out where are you at on your musical journey right now and where is it that you want to go. Look, it's something that we have to always do in our lives. We have to regularly kind of maintain that feeling of like, am I doing okay? And it can be a really discouraging thing. Like I said earlier in the video, it's good to have some sort of interaction, and this is a way that you can get really deep down and personal, but you don't need to involve other people if you're not comfortable. All you have to do is go through the step-by-step process and you'll find out everything that you need to know. So the link's below. Give it a download. My name's Crafty. I hope this has been a helpful music tips video. Let me know in the comments below what else I can give you a hand with your musical journey. And I'll see you in another music tips video real soon.